Joining us now to honor Charlie Kirk's memory and legacy is Amber Duke, friend of Charlie Kirk, senior editor at the Daily Caller and fellow at the Steamboat Institute. Thank you, Amber, for joining us today. So from your interactions with Charlie, what was he like? Who was he in your eyes?
Well, I first met Charlie, gosh, I can't even say how many years ago, probably close to a decade at this point, when he started running Turning Point USA. And he was kind to everybody. He was a great leader. He led by example. He never said a negative word about anybody and was always very charitable. We had our share of disagreements early on over things like economic issues or social issues, and he never held it against me and allowed me to MC a Turning Point event and even had me on his podcast a couple of times. And you'll hear similar things from everybody who knew Charlie, that he was just a great guy at heart. One of the most important things that he did through his campus activism was that he was willing to have a conversation with anybody, even people who shouted the most insane vitriol at him or came to him to debate in bad faith. He always responded in good faith and really wanted to just hash out political disagreements. And so it's just so devastating to know that he lost his life through an act of political violence, when that was against everything that he stood for and was exactly the kind of thing that his work was designed to prevent.
You know, it's just terrible what happened to him yesterday. And I was doing this program live when he was shot, and we were reporting on this as the news was developing. I was in denial. I didn't believe that he was actually going to pass up to until the announcement that President Trump made that he actually died. I was sure that he would survive this, despite what my guests were saying. I mean, he came onto the scene when he was 18. He did this for a decade and more, and he didn't stop in front of obstacles, in the face of obstacles. What kept him so motivated, do you think, in doing what he did?
Well, I think lately it was a combination of his faith and what he felt was a duty to his family. He got married a few years ago, has two kids, ages 3 and 1, and I think he just really wanted to leave a better future for them and make this country a place where they could be safe and where they could thrive. And I share your disbelief. Honestly, I'm still having a difficult time understanding that this is real. I'm not sure how much I've processed. And working in conservative media, it's incredibly difficult because so many people in our office knew Charlie or worked with Charlie or were friends with Charlie. And so at the same time that we were learning of this news, trying to process and trying to grieve, honestly, we also are having to report the breaking news so that our readers are able to understand what happened. And so I don't think any of us have really had the time or space to truly process this yet, and haven't really had the space to grieve, because we're also trying to, do our jobs and do that duty for our readers, or in your case, your viewers. And it's just incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that can be said about Charlie, all his great qualities. If you could just pick one, what would you say is his best quality?
I would say his generosity. He was very generous with his time. He was known for doing small podcasts of college students or even high schoolers that no one had really heard of yet, but he felt like he wanted to give back for people who were coming up in the movement. He was constantly writing op-eds for the Daily Caller and other conservative media outlets, bringing people on his show if he thought they had something interesting to say. And based on testimony from people who worked at Turning Point with him, Alex Clark made a post today. She hosted a podcast with Turning Point. He would tell people in the office that they did a great job on a TV hit, for example, that they had no idea that he even knew about. So he was just constantly sharing his time and his talents with other people. And we all are going to carry gratitude for that, and hopefully put that into making sure that his legacy lives on.
And Amber, I brought a clip here with me for you to react to. Take a look at this.
If everything completely goes away, how do you want to be remembered?
I mean, if I die?
Everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
Reactions here.
Yeah, it sounds exactly like Charlie, and probably not surprising to people who knew him. Faith was a huge, important part of his life. And if there's any small comfort out of this, I know that we're all praying for him to be reunified with his Lord and Savior and have a peaceful afterlife. And I hope and know really that that's the case. And um, also, of course, thinking about Erica and his children and knowing that they're going to grow up without a really great dad is probably one of the hardest parts of this. And one day, hopefully, a long time from now, they'll be able to reunite with him in heaven as well.
And I do believe that Charlie is being remembered right now for his courage. How would you describe Charlie's legacy that he's leaving behind right now?
Courage is a huge part of it. Look, going into the belly of the beast on a regular basis and talking to people who really despise what you believe in is not an easy thing to do. He was constantly facing protests and threats of violence and was probably, at least on some level, aware that something like this could happen. We all saw what happened to the president, Donald Trump, 2 attempts on his life. And he did it anyway because God had a purpose for him. God had a calling for him, and he more than fulfilled that purpose.
Okay, Amber, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Can I just ask one more thing? So, young voters swung for Trump big time last election, and many credited Charlie for this. Can you talk to us about his impact?
Definitely. So through Turning Point Action, which is the 501c4, in addition to Turning Point USA, which is a 501c3, they were very active on the ground in knocking doors and calling voters to turn out for Donald Trump. And they obviously had a huge Rolodex of college students and young people of voting age who were able to help with that. And he, even just through his public appearances, his massive social media profile outside of political organizing, his commentary work had such an impact on young people. I mean, I was in college when Turning Point USA first started, and I remember it coming up alongside the college Republicans and then quickly usurping the college Republicans because there was just something special about it and special about Charlie's charisma and ability to break down issues, even at such a young age, that really appealed to young people. And I think they also just really resonated with how unapologetic and unafraid he was. And he inspired so many other people on campuses to say what they believed in without fear or fervor, and to not accept that colleges just had to be places for liberals. They were able to carve out spaces for conservatives there too. And so much of that is due to Charlie.
Well, Amber, we thank you for talking to us about your friend in this difficult time.
Thank you.